Welcome to BIA 2610. I'm Buddy Freeman, and I'm the professor in this course. Officially, I'm Dr. Gordon L. Freeman, Jr., but pretty much everybody here at the university refers to me as Buddy. This is the course homepage for BIA 2610, Section 3. I'm making this video in kind of a general sense, so it may be that your section number is not the same. This is like I said, this is the course homepage. Here we have a link to Cengage MindTap. MindTap is the homework manager for the course. Cengage is the publishing company. Here we have a link to the syllabus. Here we have a link to the schedule. Here are the test dates for this course. We're going to use 4 test dates this time. Typically in the past we've done it with a midterm and a final, but we're trying to improve the scores a little bit. The homework portion of it that you do in MindTap is 50% of it, and then the other 50% of it are the test. So the tests are 500 points, and the homework in MindTap is 500 points. Each one of the tests is going to be counted the same. Each one of them is going to be 125 points. There's some videos that are available specifically for the course that you can access through the D2L shell. But first you'll need to go to lynda.com and get set up there so that you're able to access those videos. If you haven't already received an email from Lynda, I'm planning on uploading the roles tomorrow. So you should get one pretty soon. It may end up in your spam folder. You should check your spam folder to see if it's in there. If you're going to send me email, I would prefer that you send it to buddy.freeman@mtsu.edu. The D2L system has its own email, and the MTSU email system and the D2L email system are totally separate. And they do not communicate with each other. I frequently monitor the MTSU email, but that's not the case with the D2L. I'll bring up D2L and sometimes it goes down, but the MTSU email, the client that I have for that, it stays up pretty nicely, so I usually check it fairly frequently. I check the D2L email, but I just don't check it as frequently. So it's better if you need to communicate to me about something to send it to buddyfreeman@mtsu.edu. Now, I asked if they would send me the current hours for the Tutoring Lab over in the library, and I'm putting out the hours that they had for the spring, but it looked to me like they hadn't really updated them. But for right now, I'm going to assume that those hours are the same. Let me click on this link and show you what the hours are, at least what they were for the spring. In the spring, it was set up for 2:30 to 6 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And as far as I know, those hours are going to be the same this semester. If they're not, if I find out differently, then I'll just change this document so that you'll have a link to the hours. Now let me click on this link to MindTap to show you what the MindTap system, what it looks like. This is going to take me to the ebook. And we're going to cover Chapter 1 through Chapter 10. We're not going to cover Chapter 11, and we'll cover Chapter 12. Now we're not going to cover every section in every chapter. For example, let me click on number 6 here. We have 6.2. There is a section 6.1, but it's hidden. There's a section 6.3, but it's hidden. We're only going to cover the normal distribution. Chapter 6 covers continuous probability distributions, and it covers other things besides the normal. But we're only going to cover the normal distribution. The ones that are in orange, these are items that are homework items that are graded. There are links to the D2L shell for these items. And the way it's supposed to work is that when you finish one of these homework assignments, that grade is automatically uploaded to D2L so that you can look at the grade book in D2L and see how you're standing in the course. But in practice, this hasn't worked that well. Occasionally I'll have some students that'll do the work and they tell me they received such and such a score, and then they looked in the D2L and it's showing a 0. And because of that, what I do anytime I need to make a report involving grades is I'll just go straight into MindTap and I'll pull the scores out of MindTap, and then I'll use those scores to figure out whatever report I need to make. But I'm not going to go into D2L and assume that all these grades have been uploaded flawlessly, because that's just really not the case. Now, the normal probability distribution deals with something that's called the standard Z. The standard normal is referred to as the Z. I'm going to make available a table of values, probability values, and that's going to be in Chapter 6. And that's going to be in the video section in Chapter 6. It's kind of a problem to find the table in the textbook. You have to go to the full book and look down in the bottom of it to get to it. So I'm just going to make a table available for that. Same thing for the student's t-distribution. Later on we're going to get to the t-distribution. Now let me click on this link for the assignment. Now what we found out from some of the research that's been done is that a lot of times when you have an online class or when there's a big component of things that's online, what a lot of students will do is they'll go try to do the homework, and if they come in here and they look at the homework and read through it and say, all right, what's the probability that the random variable will assume a value between 45 and 55 to 3 decimals? And they say, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, what you can do is just click the little X up at the top, and then you should be at the point in the table where this material is covered. Here you have the reading material for the normal probability distribution. Just click on it and let it open up. But the little icon here that's the open book, that's reading material. And this should open up the ebook, and we're in section 6.2, and then you can read through here and you can see how to do those problems. I want you to practice this. You need to go in here and do some of these practice sets, even though you're not going to get a grade on that, but that's really where you're going to learn how to do this. Yeah, let me close that down, and let me go back to the D2L shell. And we'll go back to the course home. But that's pretty much all the items that are here that are available on the course home page. Now I'm going to go into content, give you a little run through on the content. You can access it from this link up at the top. You can also access it from this little Take Me To item over here on the left-hand side. Now I'm in the Cengage model. Let me just click on the table of contents. Oh, excuse me, module, not model. Let's see, I've got that collapsed. All right, now the general information. This is the little video that I'm doing here. Here's a link to the syllabus. Here's a link to the schedule. It's the same syllabus and the same schedule that you get from the course homepage. Here's some instructions if you're having problems getting registered in D2L with the MindTap. This little document right here should help you to go through the registration procedure. There is a loose leaf version available. If you want a physical book, that's probably the lowest cost path to a physical book. Some of the problems, they refer to the web files, so I'll put a link in here for the web files. And then there's also the student companion site where they have additional materials available there. But if you want to access the syllabus and you're inside the content, you can just come here to General Information. The Cengage model has the link to MindTap, where you just go in right there to access the ebook. Now when you're going through the D2L shell, I'm clicking on Chapter 1. I built a video for Chapter 1. Chapter 1 deals with different data types. And then this is a PDF file that corresponds to PowerPoint slides that I'm going to be using in the class. And then here's a couple of lynda.com videos. But you can go to the homework assignments and just click on this, and it takes you into MindTap, once you get registered for it. And it's going to take you straight to that particular homework assignment. But because of the research saying that people tend to do the homework, or at least attempt to do the homework, and then if they can't do it, well then they'll come back up here and look at this other material. Go through the PowerPoints or look at the video. So we've arranged this through the D2L shell this way. If you click on Chapter 2, there's the video section, and then there's the homework assignment section. So if I click on the homework assignments, you have an assignment, and there's a couple of Excel assignments in here. And then there's another item that's called Exploring Statistics Activities. But there are 3 different types of homework tasks. Each chapter has an assignment, and so Chapter 1, Chapter 2, all the way down to Chapter 10, and then Chapter 12, we're going to cover a little bit about regression and correlation. But each one of those chapters has an assignment, and there's 25 points for each one of these assignments. Here and there's some Excel assignments. There are 3 different types of these. There are graded tutorials, there are structured activities, and then the third type is referred to as freeform. And then Exploring Statistics Activities. These are items where I believe they've used JavaScript to build some of these little animation things that they have built in there. But you use those tools that they put in there to answer the questions based on those tools and your understanding of the material. Those types of activities are 5 points each, and then the Excel activities are 10 points each. Now, in order to stay on top of this homework, let me go back here to the General Information and click on the schedule. This is a PDF file, and I have all the different readings that you're supposed to do, and then down here you have Assignment Chapter 1, and it's 25 points. But the first column gives the different chapters and sections. The second column, if it's an Excel assignment, down here at the bottom is 1, but it's not until Chapter 2. But there's a couple of Excel assignments in Chapter 2. Exploring Statistics is in the third column. There's one of those types of exercises in Chapter 2. But each chapter has an assignment. Now the last column is the date that I recommend that you try to finish that homework. Chapter 1, my recommendation is that you get that done by August 24th. Chapter 2, my recommendation is that you get that finished by August the 31st. And then Chapter 3, I want you to get that done by September the 12th. But the way it's going to be graded, it won't be graded until, well, that's not really true. It's graded as soon as you do it, because it's just pretty much automatic grading. But it's not due for chapters 1 through 3 until September the 13th. But when you look at all the different tasks in chapter 1 through 3, it adds up to 125 points. But you need to have it done by the 13th, because that's when it's not going to be available anymore. Test 1 is going to be on the 14th, and it'll be 125 points also. But it's just the 10 points, the 10 points, the 5 points, the 25 points. when you add up all the points for the homework in this particular segment, it adds up to 125 points. And the same thing is followed for subsequent chapters. Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, that's going to be treated as a segment. And then the homework for Chapter 4 through Chapter 6 is due on October the 4th. But I don't want people to wait until October the 4th to try to do the homework. So I have recommended completion dates. You need to try to get the Chapter 4 material. Try to get it done by September the 19th. Try to get that Chapter 5 material done by September the 26th. And then Chapter 6, if you get that done by October the 3rd, then you're going to have October the 4th to prepare yourself for the midterm exam, which is really just Test 2. It's only going to cover Chapters 4 through 6. But in a sense, it's going to cover Chapters 1, 2, and 3, because you need to know how to do those items in order to work the problems in 4 through 6. And the same thing's going to be true when we get into the later chapters. To work the problems in Chapter 7 and 8, you're going to need to know how to do the material back in Chapter 3. But I built a little flexibility in here for you to make use of. But try to stay on top of that homework, because you're not going to be able to do anything for extra credit in this course. You need to get those points when they become available. Now let's go back to the table of contents here, and let me collapse it back out. But they're all broken down into the videos. There's a video section where the PowerPoint slides are in a PDF file. And then the homework section, you have a direct link to the MindTap product so that you can do those homework problems. But the last thing that we're going to cover in the course in Chapter 12 is regression. We'll cover a little bit about correlation, but most of it's simple linear regression. But the final exam is only going to be over Chapters 9, 10, and 12. And it'll be 125 points just like the others. But hopefully you'll get through this course successfully. This is one of the course that's the threshold course in order to be fully admitted into the College of Business. The 2 economics courses, the micro and the macro, and this course, and the first principles of accounting course, those are the threshold courses that'll get you into the College of Business. So you want to make a good grade in this course. And the secret to that is to do the homework. Get in there and play around with that homework. Do those practice problems. And then the tests themselves, we're hoping that the scores are going to improve on the test by, instead of just having a midterm and a final, breaking them up into 4 tests instead of just having 2 tests. But there'll be other videos in subsequent chapters, so I'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.